You know who else is a little bit excited about another position group? We'll talk offensive line and what one Lane Johnson had to say coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the offensive line has been a place of positive buzz this offseason as one they've stayed healthy. That's a really critical part to that unit's development and improving from 2024. But Lane Johnson, Oklahoma Sooner legend, Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl winner, two-time NFL All-Pro, future Hall of Famer, one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. As a Dallas Cowboys fan, it pains me to say that. As an Oklahoma Sooner fan, this man's opinion is law. Lane Johnson joined the Oklahoma Breakdown and spoke about the offensive line's improvement and their play this spring and is very encouraged by what he's seen, Jay.
Yeah, he talked through some of the one-on-one drills, and he talked about a lot of the hand placement where the linemen are going, and he's actually encouraged by some of the young players and the veterans being able to see like a Michael Fasusi battle, going into battle, as well as a Derek Simmons. He saw some exciting things about Eddie Pierre-Louis, Fabici Wade. He really looked, when he really dissected some of those one-on-ones, you could tell that he's like, yeah, no, I see something here. I see some potential. And that is probably the most important thing for Sooner fans right now, because that is the one position everybody's concerned about. They want to know, is the offensive line going to be up to par to where John Mateer has time? And I think that we're at this point. The good thing is I feel like we do have a deep enough group. We've talked about this before. As long as we have a really good 2 deep, I think we can go down 3 deep. And honestly, I would not be surprised if you see Michael Fasusi over there at the left tackle sometime during the season, because the kid is ridiculously good and everybody's excited about his gameplay. So, John, when you look at the line, what player makes you feel comfortable about them this season?
I think Derek Simmons. I know that that's kind of a weird place to start, but I think what he does is he brings some stability, and you kind of know what you're going to get with Fabici Wade. You know he's going to be solid. I think because of the offensive line's play last year, everybody got magnified a little bit more maybe than what they should have been, and he was up and down. But towards the end of the season, he really started to put together some really good ball. Remember, he was named SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week for Oklahoma's win over Alabama. He's an improving player. He's on a really strong trajectory. We've seen offensive linemen in their second year with Bill Bedenbaugh really make a big jump. So I think, Fabici Wade, I think, is really going to be on a nice trajectory. I think Derek Simmons helping to solidify that right side, provide a veteran presence next to him. I think it creates a really nice, experienced duo for Oklahoma to kind of lean on the right side as they're figuring out that left side. If Jacob Sexton stays healthy, obviously that's going to be huge, but health has been the biggest part of his issues and development at Oklahoma. Availability is the best of ability, right? Bill Parcells, NFL Hall of Famer, he said that for a long time. If Jacob Sexton can stay healthy all off season long, that's going to do wonders for his development. At left guard, I think we have good option with Eddie Pierre-Louis. I'm not going to throw everything on the dude's shoulders as a first-year starter at left guard. I'm not going to say he's got to be the answer. No. If you can get encouraged by him staying, again, just improvement, right? You want to see him out there getting those snaps. He's going to have some ups and downs. That's just the nature of the beast, especially when you get into SEC play against a Michigan team. He's going to have good reps. He's going to have reps that he looks like a first-year starter. That's all right. You just got to have this unit whole. If you keep it whole all off season, you have continuity, that's going to do tremendous things for this group, because you didn't have any continuity last year. You had no chemistry last year, had no ability to communicate because the guy next to you wasn't next to you just the snap before or the series before or the game before. Now you have have the ability to build that continuity, that chemistry, and that communication because these guys have been able to stay healthy all offseason.
Yeah, and it looks good with the offensive line, the way that they are. I mean, they're working. You're hearing, knock on wood, good things around health and being able to play. We could probably use one more interior guy to go right behind Troy Everett just to get you a little bit more comfort in the depth side. But yeah, no, it's that's the best thing that we're hearing is that it looks like we're going to have a lot of our dudes play.
And they're holding their own against what we believe to be a really good defensive front.
Yep.
You know, this is a really good defensive line that Oklahoma is going to deploy in 2025. And based on all the reports out of camp, they're holding their own in the one-on-ones. They're holding their own in the team stuff. And so that to me is encouraging just as a unit that you can go up against a unit like Oklahoma's defensive line, which many people believe to be the strength of the team. And that offensive line can hold its own. That's so encouraging, man. Now they got to build on it and they got to continue to develop and they got to show it, especially on the football field in the fall. But if you're looking for things to be encouraged by this spring, man, that offensive line unit and what we're hearing about them has to be the most encouraging thing so far, because as you know, like everything starts up front. And if you can't win up front, you're not going to be able to win on the outside. You're not going to allow your quarterback to win in the pocket. So if they can continue to build on that, dude, that's going to be huge for this team this year.
And that's the most important thing. Yeah, you having that availability and then having continuity in practice. They're constantly being able to work and get better. And it feels like we're at that point for this team. And Bill Beatonbow's got himself some consistency. And that consistency is going to allow him to be able to – he won't have to go through 8 bajillion configurations in order to figure out what's working. It appears he probably knows what works now. You know, he's already got, you know, a 2 deep that he can go in between the two. Now that would lead to a couple more configurations, but for the most part, those are the same guys that have been practicing. It's not people moving to new positions. You don't have to slide a Jake Sexton inside anymore because you've got 4 really good guards that you can trust right now. So you don't have to do that. I mean, like I said, the only position I think you may need another at centers because we're so young there, but you've got guards, you've got tackles, you've got just about everything you need to be able to play immediately and be okay. So now the question is going to be, John, what is it going to look like once this transfer portal opens in the next couple of days? Who's going to end up going in and who do we end up seeing come out of it? Because there's going to be some movement. I think we got to cut down at least 3 players if we're going to get under 105. If that's the number, we're still waiting on the settlement, so we don't know if that's going to be the official number. The one thing I did see out of the settlement that's of note for us to talk about in the future is the judge wants the roster limits to be grandfathered in for this year and it to be phased down over time. So if that's the case, there's a chance that you could have more players on roster. Even if the SEC tries to put a limit, they're going to have to raise their limit to be able to apply to the ruling there in the settlement. So we could see some players go. We could see some players added. We're going to see both players leave and added, but we could actually see a potential chance of more players coming in.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. If the settlement allows Oklahoma to be over that 105 for this year and then start slowly working towards 105, that allows them to keep more depth. I was just thinking about like, how huge is it that you have guys like Logan Howland and Heath Ozida that, I mean, they haven't really been able to work this spring, but you're not talking about them as starters. They're likely going to be depth pieces for you. Luke Buklenko was a big portal addition out of Stanford. You're not talking about him as a starter. He's going to be a depth piece for you. So your 2 deep is better because you've got 3 guys with a lot of experience and a lot of snaps under their belt. Are there ways for them to continue to improve? Absolutely. But a lot of experience that is going to be sitting back there. But you've got guys like Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje that have such high ceilings that if they go into the game, you're going to get excited about seeing them because you're like, okay, this might be a future first round talent that we're looking at. Let's see what he can do. You know, you're not going to be like so concerned and worried because those guys have been creating buzz all off season long, man. And yes, you're right. What happens in the portal is going to be really fascinating to see because as we talked about on our Thursday show, Jim Nagy and the Sooners are looking to be aggressive in the portal. They're going to look to make some additions that help upgrade their starting units, not just look for depth pieces. So that's going to be fascinating to watch as well. What's also fascinating to watch is what Oklahoma's doing on the recruiting trail in this new paradigm that Oklahoma's created with their front office, with Jim Nagy leading the way. We'll discuss a couple recruiting updates, including a projection coming up next year on Locked On Sooners.